Hey everybody, it's Alexis. I am back with a brand new video. Happy Monday. Thank you for being here. Today, you guys, I am talking about our favorite topics, relationships, specific person, and specifically about specific people, how to recreate aspects of the person, and finally, learning and understanding through a new analogy, how to understand the versions of people and how you create your reality and how to think of the version that you're desiring and that you're wanting. I'm going to give you some step-by-step tips and just some handy dandy tricks. And I'm going to use some analogies I haven't actually used before. Okay. Before I get started though, the links for booking one-on-one coaching, the links for booking one-on-one hypnosis are in the box below, as well as links to all of my pre-recorded hypnosis audios and courses and everything. Okay. So this is our favorite topic, isn't it? This is what most of you are here for. And funnily enough, this analogy that I'm going to use today, once I get into the success story, is something that one of you thought of. It's one of my beloved clients. She said to me, Alexis, I want to tell you what I figured out since our last session in my mind. I want to figure this out with you. And I want you to tell me if this is crazy, if this is taking it too far. Okay. Now, if you know me in my other videos, I'm probably not going to think too many things in terms of conscious manifesting or taking it too far. But as I say that, there might be a couple of things like just tweaking your process. But it's kind of funny when clients say this to me, because generally it's like, no, when you think you're taking it too far, that's actually the place I want you to take it. Okay. So she said this analogy to me, and then I actually used the analogy with another client because it was a similar, it was very helpful. And I thought, let's just bring it into today's video. Let's have some fun with it. And it's an analogy I myself can't take responsibility for, but that's very, very useful. All right. Before I get into that, the success story today also is about a client who came to me for coaching a couple of years ago. She recreated her husband. She recreated the marriage. She recreated love, being loved, and her being able to be in the receptive mode, receiving the love. Okay. And then they had a snafu. They had some things happen. She came back to coaching. She's a lot of fun. Her success story is very cute. So let's talk about that. So if you've had things happen, like if you've this is for you too, if you've recreated your person or you're recreating things and then something else happens, just remember that the recreation, the creation process of reality with your thoughts and understanding the mind, using your mind and using your inner mind to create your reality is a lifelong learning process. And that's for all of us, right? It's not like one and done. You don't start this process and then you get it and then nothing ever happens again. No. We're learning the tools to recreate reality, understand ourselves, understand what's going on with us, and then being able to finally create and enjoy and embrace and allow that relationship that you've been desiring, the dream relationship, being loved, being pursued, being sought after, love coming to you, love being safe, all of that. Okay. So also, if you are feeling like on this Monday or whenever you watch this, that you are discouraged, you've fallen off the wagon, you feel like you can't do this, you feel like your circumstances are so insurmountable, right? I get it. I have full empathy and understanding for that. And I'm sorry if you feel that way, but this is your kernel of hope and truth to keep going, to get back into the feeling and the creation and the thoughts and all the things that I will give you tips about. Okay, so let me get to the success story and then we can go from there. All right, dear Alexis, thank you so much once again for all of your help in dealing with me and all of our laughs and our cries and our tears. And I still can't believe that each and every time that I talk to you in our session, you end up telling me that I have to go get Kleenex because we uncover something and we talk about something that triggers a deeper emotional response than I can ever plan for. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Thank you so much for once again holding my hand and helping me recreate the aspects with my husband that this time had come about. Just so everybody knows, I had first done coaching with Alexis about 3 years ago. She had assisted me in thinking of affirmations, given me analogies, and talked about things to recreate my husband. At the time, 3 years ago, we were separated and we have one child together, and he has one child from a previous marriage. Just to add that in there, that there were many layers of complications, just like so many of Alexis's clients have in her videos. I am one of those. But with her help, I was able to recreate myself, finally love myself in my marriage, understand that all along I had not really loved myself, and I had not valued myself, and not taken care of myself, and not done enough things for myself, that once I tweaked those things, thought those things, focused on those things, as I focused on the version of him, he ended up coming back better than ever. When I had first done coaching with Alexis, he had moved out. We weren't in communication. He was dating somebody else. I was trying to date, but all I wanted was him. All of my thoughts went back to him. So once I recreated those aspects, he moved back in, and then we actually got a brand new house together. I can say that only with Alexis's help, thank you so much, was I able to go through and move through the dark nights of the soul that the whole thing presented me with. I realize now that there were so many aspects of things and things about him that I had kind of settled in my creation process before I began working on this, that it was actually the driving force that created the whole thing in the first place. So once I came back to Alexis, we had she's got some personal information in here. She asked me to omit some things. We were focusing on buying a new house together, and we just couldn't decide on the location. He wanted one place, I wanted another. And it actually felt like this was going to be a make it or break it move, because where he wanted to go was a huge trigger for me, and where I wanted to go was a huge trigger for him. I can say now that we have had a meeting of the minds through my, once again, not being triggered and my focusing on the proper intentions with Alexis's help, fighting through and staying through my fire and staying in the place I want to be, focusing on what I want, and learning that again, once again, with this experience and this circumstance, that I was focusing on what I didn't want over and over again. So you guys have to remember that this is not easy, and that you can get success. Like I was a success story many, many moons ago, but now I have come back through the recreation and wanting to recreate something else. So this is, as Alexis says, a lifelong journey. And I am just now beginning to understand that it is lifelong, but that I am happy to have the tools to manifest and manage my marriage, my relationship, and myself even better. Okay. I can't wait to send in photos. And this is about, stuff that I can't share about the house. Thank you again for all your help. Please feel free to share the success story and omit what is necessary. Okay. So you guys, yeah, that's interesting, right? So, and I often get asked about success story people, what happens after, right? And I'll say that a lot of people that I do a success story about, they write in, we have that, and then we keep going, right? This is not like a one and done thing. I think that's a big misconception about manifesting and the whole thing in general, is that it's a trajectory of all things, all the time, going into perpetuity, always. And that's to be said, that is to give you relief. That is not to cause anything else besides like, oh, so I'm always going to be learning how to do this and recreating this and focusing on this. So there's no need to have a time crunch or do things on a timeline or have a bunch of anxiety and worry and fear about it. Actually, the anxiety, worry, and fear is, again, what you don't want. Okay. I'm saying what you don't want is over there. What you do want is over here. This is a friendly reminder that all throughout the day, you are either focusing on thoughts of the story of what you don't want, or you are focusing thoughts on the story of what you do want. It is that simple. Now, to answer the age-old question, how did I create this? I don't get it. I was blindsided. That's the funny thing that people say that I want to say, do not tell yourself you're blindsided. Don't tell yourself it's a surprise. Those are disempowering, descriptive words about the human experience. Anyways, you don't want to be blindsided by your person and the version in your reality. Meaning, I've heard this before. I got up one day, Alexis, and he was just different. He had changed so much. It was like black and white. And then once I dive into it with the person, we understand and we uncover, oh no, it was incremental. It was an incremental shift and change. And that either way you thought thoughts that created that version of the person. Very rarely do you just wake up and someone's different. And even if you're telling yourself that, stop it. Okay. Because through incremental thoughts is how you've created the version of the person. What generally happens with a lot of people that I see, either early on in a relationship or early on in a marriage, or at some point, like this client in the marriage, she began to identifying the adjectives, the descriptive words, the negatives of her husband. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. She would tell me over and over again. I would say, okay, so stop and notice that's what you don't want. What do you want? Right? But we as human beings, unless you understand that this is what you're doing, you get very caught up in complaining, justifying, self-defending is generally speaking all what you don't want. Okay. When you begin to tell your friends, you tell your loved ones, you tell your mom, maybe you tell your dad, maybe you tell your grandma, maybe you tell your kids, all of what you don't want, which is she did this, he did this, she said this, he said this, blah, blah, blah. When it's coming from a victim mode. Now, I want to say too, I'm saying blah, 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 because that's what you want to see it as. It's not taking away the meaning or the hurt or the things that you have encountered. Okay. But if you've decided, this is the thing, if you've decided to recreate this person, then you've got to stop doing that. And the thing that's the most important is, what are you saying? What are you thinking? Right? Now, the other thing, you don't want to take this so far that you are not going anywhere and not speaking to anybody anywhere about anything because you're afraid that they're going to bring the person up. My answer to that is, in terms of speaking about somebody in your reality, is you want to start having the intention that everyone respects my privacy and everybody, we're having good conversations, instead of what some people do, which is, oh, I'm consciously creating this, I'm manifesting this, I'm not going to go anywhere, I don't want to be affected, I don't want to be triggered. Okay, that's not the answer either, because that's more of what you don't want, right? You have the power in each and every moment to understand this, to be focusing on what you do want. What I don't want, what I do want. What I don't want, what I do want. So like this client, very typical scenario, and it's an accumulation of thoughts, you guys. That's how you've recreated the version. That's it. You have thought they did one thing, you identified that, and instead of thinking, oh no, it's okay. Like, let's say someone comes home, like they're married. Let's use them as an example. They're living together. Husband comes home and he's just not in a very good mood. He's kind of distant, right? And it reminds her of her mom, who used to be distant and kind of cold, and she felt like she had to chase for love. Okay. I'm bringing in the mom thing because it's an easy example. Okay. So, and it's not to say that she's married her mom. Okay. It's just a similar familiarity, feeling, energy. Right. So husband's not coming in to give her a kiss. She's like, oh my gosh, all the thoughts are running because she hasn't really rectified, dealt with these. Okay. And this was part of the scenario the first time she came to coaching. And then she starts this whole story. Maybe he doesn't love me. Maybe he's not into me. Maybe I'm not enough. Maybe he's seeing somebody at the office. Maybe he's late because of this. Okay. Then she finds out a week later, like they talk about it, like, hey, like you were kind of cold and distant that one night. He's like, oh, babe, I didn't want to tell you, but I had a horrible stomach ache the whole night, the whole day. And I felt really embarrassed and I was having digestive issues. Okay. So you guys, we are all taking things very personally until we figure this out. Now, isn't that funny? Kind of funny, right? Because if she didn't, now the thing is this, is he can say that digestive issue thing, meaning it's not about her at all, which things, you guys, are very rarely about us. You want to take things very less personally, right? Consciously. I understand it is your reality. It's your sphere of energy, but because it is, you want to decide that things, when someone's doing something, it's got nothing to do with your lovability or if they love you. Because that story, you see, it began to create. She began to notice and think, oh, maybe he doesn't love me. Maybe he's this, maybe he's that. And that's how she created him to then move out all these things. Okay. That's how we do that, because you have a version of the person, right? You've got the version of you that you're being when you meet someone. You got the version of the person when you're together. And then you begin to notice things you don't like, right? Like, oh, you did that, or oh, you were this, or oh, you said that, or oh, you said this, and oh, you said that, and oh, you said this, all what you don't want. Now, what a lot of people do, it's a very human thing. They talk to people about all those things. Can you believe he did that? And then the person that they say is like, girl, you know what? You can do better. You're worth more, right? That's what most of us experience. Okay. So we got to stop doing all of that stuff and focus on what you want. Only your thoughts within you and your story within you about you and your person can create it. It is that simple. Either it's what you don't want or it is what you do want. Now, this analogy that I think is just gold that my client came up with is lanes in the mind. She said to me, is this taking it too far? You told me once again that it's the version of him. It's the version of him. It's, does he love me? Him being in love with me, and she's someone who is this client of mine, she is someone who is manifesting communication. She is manifesting for consistent phone calls, text messages, communication. Now, you guys, the funny thing that I'd forgotten until this moment is that she came up with this analogy of lanes in the mind. And then in our last session recently, after she had told me all this, right? 1 week she had said, I developed this lane scenario in my mind. This week, she had said to me, we were on the phone for 2 hours. And I said, oh, interesting. Now, the 2-hour conversation wasn't perfect. Doesn't matter. What she had forgotten is that she manifested that. She didn't really see it. I think she saw it. Okay, I think you saw it if you're watching the video, but not fully in terms of, oh, so it's working. My switcheroo of going to the lane of what I do want in my mind caused that conversation. Okay. Isn't that interesting? She got like instantaneous movement. She could be like an overnight success story for, instantaneous communication. Okay. The thing is this, what we're not looking for is overnight slam, bam, thank you, ma'am. We're looking for consistent communication over the long run. Okay. So in any event though, that happened almost instantaneously. Okay. So the analogy is this, she said, I see it, Alexis, as there's 2 lanes of my mind. There's one lane of who he's been, who I describe him to be. And there's the other lane of who I'm creating him to be. He calls, he's this, he's that, he's this, he's that. And she said, in the lane that he's doing what I want, I am also different. She's got like wealth, riches, things in that lane. She said, is this taking it too far? And I said, absolutely not. And I said, I don't even know if I told her then. I said, I'm going to run with this. This is something that all of my analytical, logical clients can use. And the client that I also use this analogy with this week, I said, it's very similar to how I talk about neural pathways. The thoughts that are wired together, fire together. So lane of what you don't want, lane of what you do want, they do not exist together. Now, the guy in this lane and the guy in that lane, they might kind of remember each other, but actually, you guys, not so vividly. They are different versions of your person, okay? So how do you use this and put it into practice for yourself? You got to soak it in and tell yourself the same story. Oh, okay, so throughout the day, which lane am I on? Which path am I on, right? Am I on the lane where there's car accidents and there's, if you're driving a car, bike accidents? Am I in the lane where there's constant drama, things to figure out? There's so much going on that I don't like, or am I in the lane of smooth sales? Am I in the lane of there's never any traffic? There's only bumps in the road, right? And there's bumps in the road that I easily move over through. And that's the lane I'm in, where we communicate, where he's affectionate. He loves me. He's all about me. And he makes me the center of his universe. And I make him the center of my universe too. And we are in love, and I love him and he loves me. Now you got to think too, is in the lane analogy, they're different versions of you. And yes, the version of your person is of primary importance, but of primary importance is you. Remember that everything comes down to you and your thoughts of you. It is very hard to think thoughts and stay in the lane of someone loving you and someone adoring you if you don't have the self-focus and the affirmation and the thought and the decision of I am loved, I am valued, I am wanted, I am more than enough, I love myself, this is working out for me. Now, as I said, those affirmations, if you were to grab those and they feel weird, you have to keep going. Say them each 3 times. You'd be surprised that if you can illustrate them in your mind, if you're someone that's like, oh, affirmations don't really work, Alexis, I don't like doing my mental diet, it feels too difficult. Try to affirm each affirmation 3 times. Really get it to be a decision, okay? Now, what you also want to realize is that this is the funny thing about the term resonance, right? Is that you want to understand that your subconscious mind, which is what you are affecting with the lanes, right? The lane that it feels it most resonates with is, guess which lane? That lane. When you begin this process, or when you're recreating something, the lane of what you don't want is what feels familiar. This is what you resonate with. So what you don't want to do is this, oh, it doesn't really resonate with me. I don't really like to change my thoughts. I don't like to change the story. I don't like doing my mental diet. Is there something else that I can do this will happen quicker? Okay, that all is what you don't want. Also, what I just said is what you don't want. This isn't working. I can't do this. Okay, go all in with it instead. Get yourself over to that lane, because you got to get yourself there, be there, think it, be it, think it. When you be it and think it, you will feel it. Okay. So does this help? I love this analogy. It's one of my favorites that I've heard in quite a while. Okay. But you want to understand you are in resonance with the lane of what you don't want when you're recreating something. Now you will twist and turn over and be in resonance with what you do want. And you might almost forget that there was a time that you were focused on the opposite and what you don't want, because you will, through the power of your mind and focus, get over here. Okay. But stop trying to be like, oh, I don't like these thoughts. I don't like doing my mental diet. It doesn't resonate with me. This doesn't resonate with me. You really got to try it out for size, tweak your affirmations. I'm often having clients add descriptive words to create the new story of what they do want. And it's very hard for people. I will say, especially in the scenario with the husband, the marriage, the kids, all the layers of life, it was very hard for her. She had tried to create the story. She had done affirmation. She had changed her thoughts. She got it. Okay. But most of the time she was still focused on what she didn't want. Remember that the overarching theme, the overarching focus is what you manifest. It does not need to be 100% perfect. You want to go for like 80-20. You're 80% of the day focused on what you do want. Maybe 20% you're focused on what you don't want. But when you're here, you get yourself here. And this is the thing, you guys, what I see a lot is people are very mad at themselves when they're here. Especially if, like, she is a very good example of this, the success story. She was like a seasoned client of mine. She was a seasoned, conscious, deliberate creator. She had done coaching with me. She had gone on Abraham Hicks. If you guys know them, I love them. They say the same thing as I'm saying here. She had gone on their cruises. Okay. She was a diehard conscious creation, wanted to figure this out person who had been doing this journey for like 15 years or something. Okay. So, she's still, though, when she was trying to do it herself, she was like telling me and saying this. And I was like, okay, tell me about your day. Where's your mind at? What have you been thinking? She would tell me and I'd say, okay, so we're off our mental diet. We're off the focus of the new story. When you're on what you don't want, I said, listen, you're still focusing on what you don't want most of the day. All right. So, I intend this helps everybody, clears it up. Think about, it's Monday, you guys, or whenever you watch this, whatever day it is, whatever time of the evening, time of day it is, what lane am I in? Am I focusing on what I don't want, or am I focusing on what I do want? And am I being hard on myself because I haven't yet manifested this? I haven't yet created it. If you're being hard on yourself, you're focusing on what you don't want. You're focusing on who you don't want to be. You're focusing on it not working. It's not happening. I'm not seeing it. That's all over here. We got to steer the ship through deliberate choice and thought to be what you don't want. And remember, this is not going to be easy. You are going to feel like the switch from here to here is like going through the fire, but you got to stay here, focus on this, and you're not touched by the fire. It's just all the old thoughts of what you don't want. Try to come to here, but it is impossible to be focusing on what you don't want and what you do want at the same time. And for all the people out there that think, oh, I'm affirming a thought, but there's thoughts at the same time, that is not possible. Okay. You can still try to convince me and I'll say, yeah, it's your reality. Okay, fine. But you guys, if you are feeling and you have done this enough and you're feeling and thinking of what you do want, that is where your focus will be. And you got to do this with vengeance, determination, focus, affirmation, and deciding in order for it to unfold. It can't be like loosey-goosey, you know, like, oh, I'm going to try this out and see if it works, but I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want to do this, Alexis, for 2 years and have the same thing. That all tells me that you're just not committed to going all in, having the trust and the faith, because this is built by trust and faith, to I create. I am the deciding factor. If I'm the deciding factor on who I want, I'm going to, with a vengeance, affirm and decide and be the version of me, and they're going to be the version of them over there. And I'm going to stick to it and persist until it happens. And it's happening right now. All right, you guys, I love you so much. That's my video. Let's run with it. Let's have some excitement about this. And just to say, it's very much like neural pathways that are wired together in the mind, they fire together. What you don't want's over here is a cluster. What you do want's over here is a cluster. It's that simple, right? It's going to feel weird too to think thoughts of what you do want when your thoughts have always been of what is, right? You've always been someone's doing something, like he does something and you focus, he did that, I don't like that, right? I am asking you to go higher and bigger, more outside the box of imagination. And you are thinking these thoughts without them being based on what is. Remember, you are the creator of what is out there. It comes from you. We're not basing our affirmations on, okay, well, they kind of did that, so I'm going to affirm they did this. This is easy. That's the easy way. Absolutely not. Okay. I did have notes written down. Usually when I write the notes down, actually, I don't have to look at them. But you also want to, my last point before I close the video. You want to decide what the story is, right? You don't want to go all willy-nilly and not have a plan here. You got to decide what's the story. Who is he? He loves me. He does everything for me. I am the one who's loved. But it's got to be super elaborate depending on what you want. That's why this isn't one and done. It's not like there's a list of things you can think about and then it happens. It's got to be tailored to your particular desire. Okay. And you're thinking thoughts like it's happening or it's happened and we're there. That's all of what you do want, right? So it's what you do want, but it's like, okay, if he was loving me and I was loving him, I would feel loved and adored. So therefore my affirmation is I am loved, I am adored, I am wanted. He loves me too. He adores me. He shows me. Okay. It's always self first, SP second. That's how you can recreate anyone and everyone. And know this is part of the process for everybody. You got to go through the fire of this, what I don't want, what I do want to get there, but you can do it. All right, you guys, I love you so much. I will see you in my next video. Have an awesome week. And remember to celebrate yourself, love yourself a lot, put yourself and your thoughts of you being safe, stable, secure, being the center of your experience because it's your reality. You deserve it. You're worth it. And you can do all the things for everybody else and be there for everybody else and involve yourself as the number one of the equation at all times. All right. I love you so much and I'll see you soon. Bye.